So you may have heard of the quote by Audre Lorde, the black feminist writer, "The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house." And you might have heard of David Sirota, who was one of the main advisors to the Bernie Sanders campaign, Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont, who, if the Democratic Party hadn't sabotaged him twice, there might have been a different outcome altogether than what the U.S. has had in the last 8 years. But anyway, that's all sort of old history now, and Bernie Sanders let them sabotage him twice. The fact is now we have the United States has Biden. My point of this video today is that I wanted to just talk a little bit about David Sirota, who was Bernie Sanders' campaign advisor. Now, you might have been following on YouTube the Jimmy Dore show. I don't know if you follow that show. I imagine a number of you do. If you're leftists, you probably do. You may not follow it all the time, but you probably know of it. And just recently, Jimmy Dore has been talking about this idea, which is not a radical idea, but that if all the progressives like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and like all withheld their vote from Speaker Nancy Pelosi, so that she basically had to commit to bringing Medicare for all onto the floor for a House vote, that that would sort of force her to basically bring Medicare for all for a House vote if they said they would withhold their vote. David Sirota says that that's all performative because it'll never pass. It'll never pass the Senate. It will just be performative and people, it won't pass. But the thing is that all these co-signers onto Medicare for all, when push comes to shove, you really see where they are. And most of them are just signed onto it because they know that, it's never going to pass, or they don't even think it's ever going to even be held for a vote by Nancy Pelosi, and they're correct. She's not going to do that unless she's pushed. And that's what the Jimmy Dore campaign, it's not really a campaign, it's his suggestion, which a lot of different journalists and, news, leftist news sources have been taking up that suggestion and promoting that to their audience. And that's why I mention it here, because I think it's actually a good thing to do, is to push for something that's for the people and use people power by pressuring these people who call themselves progressive and who carry on and on about Medicare for all, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. In every campaign ad she's done, she's always going on about Medicare for all. But when push comes to shove, she doesn't want to do this. She doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to push Nancy Pelosi. She doesn't want to push Mama Bear. Now, why am I bringing this up again? Because I've brought this up just recently. Because I'm starting to wonder about David Sirota, Bernie Sanders' campaign advisor. I'm noticing that he is doing he's making a lot of effort to dissuade people from doing this. He went on the Jimmy Dore show. They had a bit of an argument on there. Then he came back and he pretended like he wasn't against that idea that Jimmy Dore brought up. But really, when you look back at the tapes, when you look back at what he said, he was trying to dissuade Jimmy Dore from doing that. And, I don't know how many times he's called this performative. I don't know where you get the idea that when people power is involved, it's performative. But when you're trying to do what people would call wonky stuff within a party, and this is where Audre Lorde's sort of quote comes in. When you're trying to do things within the party, which is what he seems to be trying to do, to change this. Like, for example, to me, it's ridiculous and shows that he's just a real insider. But not only that, I'm sort of starting to wonder whether there's a little something that is off here, because he seems so keen on derailing this idea of Jimmy Dore, even though he said that he's for it. But he keeps niggling away at it, and there's just one tweet after another. Go to his Twitter site. It's just at David Sirota, David Sirota. Go and have a look at how often he is talking about this and how he's sort of basically having a go at anybody who wants to do this in a way, but is suggesting things that are really sort of within the party sort of thing, like getting rid of one of the committee chair people, or getting Joe Biden to do an executive order to bring in Medicare for all. Please, I mentioned this, and actually a town in, I think it was Nebraska, got Medicare for all in their town because there was a mine that was putting out terrible pollution, and so the government brought in Medicare for all for that particular town, and it was a section 1881A. I've talked about this in another video. Yes, that you can actually do that, and he could bring in Medicare for all on executive order. But he has actually said he would veto Medicare for all if it came across his desk. This is someone, even in a pandemic, and this is all these corporate Democrats are all like this. They're all owned by Big Pharma and by, the health insurance industry and all of that, and they're just not going to do it. They're not going to do it. And but yes, David Sirota suggests that, what about Biden doing an executive order for Medicare for all? Please. But yes, why not pressure him too? But, it's like he's not going to do it. You need to actually expose these people who call themselves progressives for the frauds that they are, and a lot of them are frauds. They pretend that they're for things, but really when push comes to shove, they don't want to stick their neck out because they love their careers. And they're supposed to be representatives of the public. They're supposed to be public servants, these people. They're not political celebrities, they're public servants. And people need to stop treating them like celebrities. AOC and all these different ones. Rashida Tlaib and all these different, the squad and all of that. They're public servants. And David Sirota, I'm starting to feel, I don't want to say it, what I'm thinking about this, but I'm starting to feel like there's something off here about him. And I think he's really angling for some sort of a job. And I even wonder whether at some point he's probably going to be a campaign manager for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I do. Like she's going to be the replacement for Bernie Sanders, the next Bernie Sanders, which the Democratic Party is going to dangle in front of everybody, like they did with Bernie Sanders. Look, see how progressive we are in this party? Even though Bernie Sanders says he was independent, but really he'd be pulled back in just before every election. And then they'd also they dangled other people in front of the masses when it came to election times to make the party look like it was somewhat progressive. But it's not. And these people are just bait, basically, and they allow themselves to be bait. And I really think that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is just a replacement for Bernie Sanders and will be used as a carrot, dangling a carrot in front of the masses, and people will go, oh, look how progressive the Democratic Party is. Look, they've got, this one, AOC. She wants Medicare for all. Oh, darn it, she actually missed out on being elected, or she actually didn't win the presidency or whatever. Like, I can see David Sirota actually being her campaign advisor for her 2024 run or her 2028 run, something like that. And I'm sort of thinking that he may not. Now, this is all me just speculating, right? I'm not a journalist, so I can do that. But I sort of wonder if he wants to be her campaign advisor for 2024, and he doesn't want her exposed. He's trying to protect her. He's trying to run interference. And this is one of the reasons why he keeps tweeting after tweet after tweet, sort of on one hand, like a real politician saying, oh, I'm not against the idea of, basically pressuring Nancy Pelosi, either, bring Medicare for all onto the floor or we won't vote for you, that kind of thing. Oh, I'm not against that. But then on the other hand, there's tweet after tweet after tweet trying to derail it and trying to basically poo-poo it. So, he's like a politician in that way. He's taking a bet both ways, and depending on, but he does it in a sort of a way that is very clever. And he's trying to convince people to abandon that and do this insider stuff of trying to get rid of some particular committee member who is anti-Medicare for all and all this kind of stuff, and getting Joe Biden. I mean, holy Toledo, really. This is like one thing he said here 16 minutes ago, a reminder that the incoming Democratic president could, with the stroke of a pen, expand Medicare for all to cover millions of people, and nobody is doing any pressure organizing around this at all, because the left wants performative art rather than results. Good night. He's either incredibly naive, which I do not believe he is, or he is just trying to find other reasons for people not to do what he calls performative art. I'm amazed and not surprised in some ways that he thinks that power of the people in pressuring politicians is performative art, in quotes. That, I have to say, that really pisses me off reading that. And it's also incredibly naive. I mean, the man, Biden, has actually said he is going to veto Medicare for all if it comes across his desk. He is not going to do that. So that would be a ridiculous waste of time. He's actually said he's not going to do that. Now, I finally had an operation a couple of days ago, and this is the second operation I've had on my arm. I had a bad break. My bone density is very good. Thank you very much. I'm vegan, but my bone density is above normal for my age, apparently. But I fell backwards over some boulders and just not paying attention when I was doing some gardening, and I broke my left arm, broke my left wrist. And with that break, I had to have a metal plate put in it because it was a bad break, and they wanted to set it correctly. So I had an operation in February, and now I I finally had another operation to remove the metal plate in my wrist because it was causing some restriction in movement in my wrist and my fingers. And it's already feeling a bit better, which is great. But my point about telling you this is that I would have had to pay probably $30,000 or more to have those 2 operations. And that would have put me in tremendous debt and would have been very, very difficult for me to manage to pay that off. It'd probably take me the rest of my life to pay it off, really. Because, I don't say, I'm living kind of on a shoestring, and that's just how it is. So, but I'm very aware when these sort of things happen to me, how important it is to have some form of free healthcare in any country. Neoliberalism has been doing its best since the CIA helped get rid of Gough Whitlam, and they admitted it. The democratically socialist prime minister that we had, they helped get rid of him, and ever since then it's been a neoliberal downslide. And so, they're gradually, it's death by 1,000 cuts for our free healthcare system here. But we're still able to get free healthcare, and we're still able to get public hospital, and excellent care in public hospitals. And I know that it's good care because I was a registered nurse and I've worked in a number of public hospitals, and I feel like the care is excellent here. These are public hospitals under a free healthcare system. In fact, I could safely say that the care in public hospitals in many ways is better than the care in private hospitals. And I know that too because I've worked in private hospitals as an agency nurse, and I've worked in public hospitals. And often I've heard other nurses say that the private hospitals are not as good as the public hospitals. So, this whole scaremongering about, free healthcare as if it's you're going to end up in some sort of bad shape or something and get dodgy medical treatment is a load of nonsense. I know for a fact it's not like that. My experience as a registered nurse. Okay, so back to David Sirota. So anyway, that's why healthcare is a right, and it should be free. If it's a right, it should be free. And anybody who says affordable healthcare is a right is a complete ning-nong, and they're a complete neoliberal. And that's what Joe Biden is. These people, they say things like affordable healthcare is a right. I mean, honestly and truly, talk about messing with what is a right and what is not a right. Anyway, so I'm at this point, I'm really not happy at all with David Sirota and what he's trying to do about this campaign. And I really hope that, well, it's not really a campaign, but what Jimmy Dore is suggesting that people do. And I hope that you will go to his Twitter site and sort of do a bit of pushback on him because I think he's really, really trying to dissuade people from involving themselves in this. And I'm sorry to say this. I suppose I have a suspicious mind, but I'm concerned that he's doing it because he's running interference for AOC, for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He doesn't want her to be exposed for not voting or for not voting for Nancy Pelosi. I think he might think that's going to, in some ways, sabotage her political career to run for president if she goes against Pelosi. And also maybe she won't actually vote for Medicare for all. And that, if it goes for a vote eventually, she won't vote for that. And he doesn't want that to be exposed either. I mean, this is all my speculation. As I say, I'm not a journalist, but I feel like he is a real insider, and he can see he's got a political career, and I think he can see there's another job for him on the horizon, and it's probably going to be AOC. And I feel like that is one of the reasons he's trying to undermine this very good suggestion by Jimmy Dore about Pelosi and, basically the speakership, etc. If the public could get Medicare for all, that would be an incredible thing, particularly at a time of a pandemic. But it seems like he's trying everything he can to sort of find reasons why people shouldn't do this. So he says things like, about 47 minutes ago, he said things like, if I'm Pelosi, I'm looking at the left right now and being like, quote, wait, all you want is a performative Medicare for all vote? You're not demanding anything that actually wields power and puts me in a really tough spot? Shit, this is sweet, end quote. Now see, that's suspect, because actually, if those progressives say, we're not going to vote for you for a speaker, Nancy Pelosi, if you don't bring Medicare for all on the floor for a vote. If people are pressuring those so-called progressives to do that, this is people pressuring the establishment, people pressuring these politicians. So How is Nancy Pelosi going to think that this is sweet, end quote. So I'm not going to go as far as to say that, there's some bad faith acting in here, but, it just seems to me that there's something wrong, and I find it very disturbing that people want to sort of, there are so many forces against doing something good for the people, and also there's so few opportunities for the people to sort of push back, like, for example, like in this case. And here is somebody was Bernie Sanders' campaign advisor, who, you really have to wonder if this is the kind of advice that he was saying to Bernie Sanders. Between Bernie Sanders and him, it's no wonder things didn't work out, and no wonder there wasn't any forceful pushing for anything. Really, I have to wonder now what kind of advice he was giving Bernie Sanders. Whether Bernie Sanders would have pushed back or not on different things, I don't know, but I mean, he used to just let people walk all over him most of the time. And I've said before that I wonder if Bernie Sanders is going to run again in 2024. I mean, I know he's going to be like 80 years old, but, I wouldn't be surprised. And more fool the people who go along with that again, the third time. I mean, like I said in that other video, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And fool me 3 times, well, as I said, there's not even a quote for that. But I mean, if people go along with Bernie Sanders once again and he abandons them once again, I mean, how low does the bar have to get? But anyway, I'd be interested to see how this all turns out, this vote next year. I doubt that any of these progressives are going to vote against Nancy Pelosi. And but, that sort of shows them up for what they are too. Thanks for watching. My name's Trish Roberts. You're watching Faint Signals from Viga. Till next time. Bye for now.